Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Rocket Rabbit Commentaries run through of Digimon World 3, and in this episode we have successfully made it over to Duel Island, and we are going to be showing off the Duel Island tournament for Asuka, because, unfortunately, we will not be able to complete the Duel Island questline, because past Gerdat and even technically present Gerdat do not know how to actually engage in the latter half of the final quarter of the Duel Island questline. I understand that fractional narratives are a bit confusing, but it will make sense when I'm actually allowed to explain it slightly later on. Alright, so every single one of the Divermon that is here on Duel Island, at least that is part of the tournament, is slightly easier than they are supposed to be at this point in the game, which is why our matches against them go slightly better than they realistically should.
You know, it's funny you say that, like, going through a game or replaying it, and then after some time has passed, you're a little wiser to what is a good difficulty curve for a video game. When should opponents be hard? When should they be especially hard? And then you come back to a situation like this and say, you know, this opponent is rather easy for this stage in the game. I think that this is a mistake on the part of the game developers, but they really should have made this opponent more difficult, because, I mean, come on, I've been playing for 3 hours now. I'm competent. I know what I'm doing. I demand a challenge.
Well, I'm only somewhat competent at the moment, because although we were able to successfully do a good portion of the grinding that we needed in order to get to this level of power, our deck is actually a tad weaker at the very end of this tournament than it's supposed to be. Now, Cloud very specifically wanted me to run a yellow/brown deck all the way through the tournament. I had asked him about it prior to the run, but you're gonna see that although I attempted to do that for my creatures specifically, I end up leaning very heavily on our program cards instead.
For the record, when Mr. Gerdat consulted me about this decision as to which deck to run, I had no idea whatsoever if I was, by my decision, making his experience more challenging than it needed to be, just as challenging, or not challenging enough.
Anyway, here's an intro mod. And with that, we actually went through having more HP left than our opponent. Whoa.
Winner, you are winner.
Now, the booster packs that you get from this tournament are actually relatively difficult to obtain outside of the tournament, specifically due to the fact that we are running a single Digimon all the way through the game. I believe that 05 Alpha is obtainable in Suzaku City specifically. However, the opponents that you have to fight in order to get the 05 Alpha card pack is slightly more difficult than the first half of these opponents. So.
Oh, cool. We get to organize our own folders by name. We have an index. Do you have an index in your game?
Mostly because we've got 3 different folders. The issue with that, of course, is that you only ever really need one folder, narratively speaking. You can build multiple different decks, specifically around the different color pies, but attempting to do so, you're gonna end up figuring out relatively quickly that the program cards for the individual colors are significantly better, pretty much universally, than the Digimon cards are.
I read this right. We're really just taking on a gauntlet of Divermon that are all card players. Yep. We all live in a copy-paste world. Copy-paste.
So with this Hagurumon, the Andromon that we're going to summon is going to give us what? 24 attack and 28 health. Let's pump that up slightly higher, and then we can use Eclipse Undo in order to take down one of the Digimon.
Gotcha.
And with that, we now have enough stats in order to win. Behold, a 6-point Digivolution for Andromon. It's why I actually keep the Haguru and Summon Hagurumon in my deck for much longer than I'm supposed to, because it's very satisfying for me specifically to get the 4-of-a-kind Andromon summon out.
Well, we got some big ones.
We do.
I think.
Program Charge. I think I'm going for Digimon Charge to here so that I can actually get my other Growl. I don't actually have another Growl. Okay.
I do like the individual sound bites for each movement of the cards. It sounds to me like these cards are all like... It's like those card protectors that are actually not supposed to go onto cards you put in your deck, but the really thick sleeves like you get in the mailbox when you order from an online merchant service with a card shop,
also
and
known
then
as
you
a
get it as a top loader. And sometimes they put Scotch tape on it in order to seal it.
And with that, we have taken down the Asuka Blackmaster. His entire game plan was to use the, much like the White Master, was to use the smaller Gazamon line in order to, gain surprise stats during the battle phase. So.
Okay, so each time I see how it is. So they step out of the way as you defeat each one, so you can physically get to the next opponent.
Yep.
Gotcha. Not quite like the Elite Four. The Elite Four members, they all stand perfectly still, and then the remote activated doorway by the DJ or whatever. I am content to believe at this point that there actually is a DJ just like queuing up and playing music while you're playing the Elite Four, and he also has the door controls right next to his mixing table.
I don't know. That sounds to be a bit more far-fetched.
Far-fetched.
I'm reconsidering my stance about this hand, because honestly, we just cannot actually put out enough stats in order to win this one. So what I should probably do here is just play my Summon Hagurumon in order to thin out my deck a little bit more. But it looks like I'm not. It looks like I'm just going to pass and accept this loss.
Pass gas. Thinking.
Yes, thinking.
There is a best move, and we're going to find it. So, if you lose to any of these Divermon, do you get just knocked back to the start of the circuit, or do you get to retry on the same opponent?
You get to retry on the same opponent, thankfully.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Was my math a bit off? It looks like that we're attempting to go. No. My math was not off. So I'm going to use my Protect Armor and my Assault Armor here just to get them out of my deck. But yeah, we're going to end up. We do end up just straight losing here. Okay.
I've done the math enough to know the dangers of passing my turn.
Green, honestly, is not one of the better colors in the game, especially when it comes to raw power. Like, when it comes to raw power, at least at this point in the game, red is actually the dominant force, despite the fact that we're primarily running brown. And the reason why we're primarily running brown is actually due to the fact that brown doesn't interact with the colored pie. Like, you'll notice that any time that we get a colored card in our hand, we actually generate energy down at the bottom. And we spend that energy specifically on champion level or higher Digimon, like Cubimon and Dark Tyrannomon. However, we also very explicitly do not spend S energy or generate S energy on yellow/brown Digimon. So yeah, that is how the S energy system attempts to work. Every colored card you get gives you a point of S energy, and then anytime you summon a champion level or higher Digimon, you spend S energy in order to use it.
Yeah, you used the word summon.
I did.
That's a Yu-Gi-Oh term.
It's also a Magic term. Alright. So this is going to be one of the very few times we actually get to show off a round 3. Round 3 opponents are usually slightly more difficult than the round 2 opponents. This is specifically because every single time that you do a card battle, your opponents are guaranteed to have the exact same hands and responses to your plays, virtually regardless of how you attempt to interact with them. So they scale up the difficulty based on what their deck is supposed to do and what the end goal of their board actually is. I'm not explaining this very well because I have a stuffy nose. Ugh.
So it's the difference between a static opponent and a dynamic opponent.
Well, the problem is it's a fusion between the two, very explicitly, because our opponents are static, but they feel dynamic.
In time, they elaborate on some dynamic capabilities.
They do.
Like you said, though, that they're scripted. They're going to do the same things on each trial of the game. So eventually, you, the player, are supposed to be learning the patterns in order to do better the next time.
Yeah. All right. In the next episode, we'll finish off the rest of Duel Island. Getting a 07 Alpha booster actually requires you to, go to West Sector. So. And I don't even know where that particular tamer is in West Sector. So, be safe, everybody.